Hey guys, it's Monday, April 13th. I hope you had a great spring break. Welcome back. Here is the week at a glance. So we've got all the days of the week. Today is Monday. We're going to do 9.1 notes, starting a brand new chapter. Tomorrow we're going to do 9.1 examples. Wednesday's 9.2 notes. Thursday is 9.2 examples. Then on Friday we're going to review. The Chapter 9 quiz link will be posted on Tuesday, April 21st for you to take. I wanted to make a comment here, and I will again later this week. On Tuesday, April 21st, we'll have office hours at 1 o'clock. So if you want to come to office hours and then take the quiz afterward, do that. Come and get your questions answered before you try the test or quiz. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me or come to office hours. Think of it like coming to me at lunch. You would come into my room at lunch, you would stay however long you needed to get help, and you would go on with the rest of your afternoon. So feel free to do that. That's what that's for. So anyway, let's get on with this. Here's the warm-up. Just like normal, the normal Monday. Give this one a try, and then we will review it. All right, so here we go. It says evaluate the expression. We need to make sure that we're following order of operations. That says multiplication has to be first before addition. So we're going to go ahead and multiply all of these little groups of multiplications together. And remember, multiplication is commutative. You can multiply in any order that you want to. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 5 is 20. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 3 is 12. 2 times 5 is 10, and 10 times 3 is 30. I think the number one thing I miss most about, it's probably not the number one thing, but one of the things I miss is you guys being able to be there to tell me that I've made a mistake. Because it happens all the time, and I find it later and it's too late to go back. So, anyway, when you add all those up, you're going to get 62. Keep going. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 1 times 2, that's 4. 2 times 4 is 8, times 2 is 16. Is that 28? One more. 2 times 6 is 12. Or 3 times 6 is 18, and 18 times 2 is 36. 2 times 6 is 12, times 1 is 13. And 2 times 3 times 1 is 6. And then 36 plus 6 is 42. And 42 plus 13 is 55. All right, so make sure that you have 9.1 notes in front of you. 9.1 notes, I handed out Chapter 9 notes on the day we learned that we would not be returning to school. So make sure you've got those in front of you. If you don't, I will show you how to print from the website. And all of the handouts are always there on the website for you to use. If you don't have a printer, no big deal. Just write on or take notes on a separate sheet of paper. Do your best with what you have. So here's our essential question. Feel free to pause, write it down. In the upper right-hand corner, we have our key idea. Chapter 9 is all about surface area and volume. You've talked about surface area and volume before, but there's a lot to remember. So we're going to start with surface area of prisms. And normally I would be standing in front of you with a prism in my hand, and I would be able to show you what a prism is. Here's one here. This is a prism. It has rectangular bases. This rectangular prism has rectangular bases. And you'll notice that the base name is always in the name of the prism. A rectangular prism has rectangular bases. A triangular prism has triangle bases. regardless of its orientation, I'll get there in a minute, regardless of whether you turn it, the bases are still triangles in a triangular prism. So there is a formula to find the surface area of a rectangular prism. You can use it and it works great. You've practiced multiple different formulas and how to use them and write them and then substitute and evaluate. It works fine. But personally, I have found that memorizing and using a formula doesn't work for every prism. It doesn't work for every prism. So knowing the formula only helps you with certain problems. And it just doesn't seem efficient to me to know a formula that doesn't work for every problem. So anyway, let's look at our first example. This says find the surface area of the prism. Remember, the surface area is the area of all the faces combined. So we're going to find the area of all the faces, all the rectangles on the outside, and add the faces together. So in the steps and notes column, that's what I'm going to write. The first thing I'm going to do is find the area of every face. After I find the area of every face, I'm going to add them together. Now I want to show you some of these faces on this rectangular prism are the same. So you only need to find the area one time and then you can add multiple faces together. So let's look at this first one. You see the top? The top is colored in red. Here's the top. Here's the bottom. I've highlighted them both in green. They have the same dimensions. The top and bottom, they match. They are identical. They have the same dimensions. So for the top, I'm going to label it top and bottom. They're both rectangles. Their area is both length times width, and they're both 3 times 5. So the area of the top is 15. The area of the bottom is also 15. Let's look at these. Do you see the back? It's like facing away from us. This is the back. We also have the front, which is facing towards us in this picture. The front and the back. I've highlighted them in here in purple, front and back. They are identical. They have the same dimensions. It's 3 wide and 6 tall. So 3 by 6. The front is 18 and the back is also 18. We have some more sides. We have the left and the right side. Right here, the side is sort of, it's not facing us, but we can still see it. It's the right-hand side of the prism. There's also the left side. I've highlighted them in yellow. So I'm going to write left and right. They are identical. They have the same dimensions. They're 5 wide and 6 tall. So they are both 30. The left is 30 square inches and the right is 30 square inches. Now that we have the area of every single face, this rectangular prism has 6 faces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces. Now we're going to add them all together. You are allowed a calculator on the quiz and test for this chapter. Make sure your additions are last. Your calculations should be last. We still need to show amazing work. 126 square inches. So when I think about surface area of three-dimensional shapes, I think about them like a composite shape. It's a composite two-dimensional shape, and they're all combined together, so the steps are the same. We divided this shape into parts. We found the area of each part, and we added all the parts together. You just need to make sure that you account for every single part. And that's the hardest thing. Let's try another one. I got one more. It says find the surface area of this prism. This is still a prism. It has two parallel bases. The shape of these bases are triangles. No matter how you rotate this figure, its triangles are still, or its bases are still triangles. Like if I had rotated it this way, is the base a rectangle now? No, the bases are the triangles. It's a triangular prism. So we're going to do the same steps we did before. We're going to divide this shape into parts, find the area of each part, and add the parts together. A lot of this is colored for us, which is great. You can see that the top is colored in red, and this is the bottom. It sits on these two bases. There's two triangles here. So I'm going to label it top and bottom. The top and bottom are triangles. So the formula is like this: 1/2 base times height. When we choose a base and height, they must be perpendicular. They must meet at a right angle. So in this triangle, the base is 3 and the height is 4. 1/2 base times height. 3 times 4 is 12, and half of 12 is 6. So one red triangle is 6 square meters. But there are two of them, right? There's the top and the bottom, so we need to account for that. The top is 6 and the bottom is 6. So altogether, the red is 12. Top and bottom are both 6. So some of you are saying, well, could we just not divide by half and leave it 12? Absolutely. You definitely can do that. So the top and bottom altogether is 12. Now let's take care of this blue side. We've got this blue part over here. It's kind of on the right-hand side if I'm looking at it. And it's colored blue in the picture. It's a rectangle. Its dimensions are 6 by 4. So its area is 24. The next one we have is kind of on the left facing us. It's colored in green. My green doesn't quite match it, but it's close enough. Its dimensions are 6 by 3. So its area is 18. Now there's one more rectangle that we have to account for in this picture. It's the large one that's facing away from us. It's like you wouldn't be able to see it unless you turned the figure. So it's this one. It's in the back. I'm going to label it back. Its dimensions are 6 by 5. So its area is 30. All right, now we've got all our parts. We need to add our parts together. So I'm just going to change colors and go ahead and use a calculator and make sure that you put this in a couple times. See and make sure that you're putting in what you need to and that you've accounted for every single side. Make sure that you summarize your notes. Read them over, make sure that it makes sense to you. attend office hours if you need to. They're tomorrow, Tuesday,